Welcome back. Time to get the latest business news. Owen's over this side of the desk for a change because we're also welcoming on set Ricardo SIMOES. He's the director of the Franco-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce here in Paris. He's here to talk about Portugal's bailout programme 1 year on. Ricardo will get into that in just a moment. But first, Owen, you've got the latest market moves.
Yeah, picking up a little bit, Stuart, certainly on the Asian markets in the last hour or so, but still mostly down. The Nikkei off by around 0.5%, some improvement there. We'll give you the numbers on the board. The Shanghai Composite is back in action and showing some gains after around 3 days of public holidays. The Eurozone has come back to bite in the last 24 hours. Spain's borrowing costs up after a very disappointing bond sale yesterday, struggling to meet demand and investors demanding ever more interest from the government. As I say, the Kospi as well, keeping things ticking along just at the bottom of our board there. Ricardo, you're plugged into the business community here in Paris. A few days ago, we were saying how great these markets were looking. We've seen record gains on things like the Nikkei for the first quarter. Where do you see things going for the rest of the year? Or can we sustain that kind of comeback on the markets?
I think yesterday we had an auction for the Portugal side. Things were positive because we had the short-term auction, and we placed 1.5 billion euros at lower interest rates. For Spain, it was more difficult. It's very difficult to say how the markets are going to go for the next year, but we'll have to wait and see.
OK, well, we'll be back with you in just a moment, Ricardo, but let's introduce the topic first of all, because this Friday, in fact, marks 12 months since Portugal became the third Eurozone country to be forced to take a bailout. The pattern has been familiar. Change of government, followed by an austerity plan that's triggered widespread discontent. But Portugal is at least meeting the financial obligations set by its creditors, and yet there's concern that its long-term borrowing costs remain too high. Here's Catherine Viette.
Hours spent on job search sites trying to line up an interview. Maria Gouveia is among Portugal's staggering 15% of the workforce that can't find employment. The 32-year-old architect has been without a job for over a year.
The architecture and construction industries are stagnant. There's no work. And small projects we can work on are not enough to make a living. So I decided to search other areas.
It's been a year since the EU and the IMF agreed to extend 78 billion euros in rescue loans. Despite the aid and tough austerity measures, the economy is expected to contract by 3.3% this year before turning the corner in 2013. Still, Portugal's international backers say additional loans and debt restructuring are not on the table for now. The IMF says the current program's on track, while the EU's a bit more cautious, noting elements beyond Portuguese control remain a concern. The private sector, too, is watchful. The benchmark 10-year bond interest rate remains above 10%, a level considered unsustainable. However, bond sales on Wednesday went better than expected, with demand outstripping supply, increasing investor confidence.
The risk remains, but Portugal is seen by foreign investors as the Troika's good pupil, implementing the measures imposed. I think that was confirmed in the last few weeks in terms of what had happened with the yields.
But for those looking for a job, the recovery can't come soon enough.
So that's the picture in Portugal there, 1 year on from that bailout. Ricardo, we heard in that soundbite there, Portugal described as a good pupil. You've met your obligations from the IMF. The latest figures show that bond yields, yes, they've come down on 10-year yields, but there's something like nearly 12% right now. That's just far too unsustainable. There is a sense in the market that maybe Portugal is going to have a second bailout or some sort of debt restructuring. Are things really that bad?
I think the numbers that came off are reassuring that Portugal is attempting to meet all the requirements in the memorandum, and for instance, as the finance minister said, there will not be a need to restructure the debt. or to another bailout.
But I think the Greeks said that, to be fair. We heard that message month on month over the last 12 months, and yet look what happened to Greece. Can we really believe those kind of noises coming from the Portuguese government?
The numbers are not the same as in Greece. For instance, we presented a deficit in 2011 of 4.2. We had the goal to achieve 5.7. So I think we are responding well and in a responsive way, and maybe some adjustments should be made, but by the lenders side, that the lenders came off and just say. I think it's overwhelming what they're trying to do in Portugal with all the reforms and everything. So we have to agree something to recompensate the good student, you know.
The markets don't seem to have much faith, though, do they?
Yeah, the markets. It's very strange because. From the financial crisis started, subprime crisis, that there are three phases of the markets right now. There are the rating companies that are they have like 30 years of activity, but now they are the face of the markets, and quite frankly, they don't respond to the same numbers that the country, that European Union presents.
Are you saying they have too much influence, that they've got too much?
They have too much power. Right now, they have too much influence. Yeah.
Just talking about the reforms, Ricardo, we've talked an awful lot about making countries like Greece and Portugal more competitive, about trying to bring down labour costs. But do you see any evidence of that change in your country? Because the concern is that it just doesn't change quickly enough. One statistic that really surprised me was I think Portugal's getting rid of 3 public holidays, or has done already, which is a pretty severe reform in itself. What about labour costs, though? Are we seeing Portugal becoming more competitive?
I think the reforms that are being settled are to gain efficiency. In fact, the three holidays the government managed to have the support of the social and the syndicates, and they have tried to get Portuguese productivity back on.
And I mean, Portugal's got lots of well-known, of course, for wine, leather, things like that. But what do you think are the growth areas? What are you looking for in the future from Portugal?
I think it's very important for Portugal that it's to export to new markets, to find new markets to export his products, and to attract foreign investment. The areas we have lots of exports, but not only wine and basic products. We have also transformed products that we can export. We have all an economy by the sea and using the sea that we can develop.
Brazil would seem an obvious one. You've obviously got the language links,
yeah,
and huge growth there. Of course, it's one of the big success stories. Is that a key area to focus on, or are there other economies that?
There are other economies like Angola and Mozambique. Angola, it's well developing. Mozambique has lots of potential, and Portugal is, don't forget, the third European language most spoken in the world. So there's an asset there to be explored, and also Portugal can be used as a platform for investing in these countries, for France, for Britain.
If you were in the finance ministry now, back in Lisbon, Ricardo, what would be the number one priority? What is the number one priority for this country in the next 12 months, just briefly?
I think it should be to try to restart the economy, to reboost the economy.
Okay,
actually.
Richard SIMOES, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us today. That's Richard SIMOES. He's Portuguese Chamber of Commerce here in Paris. Good to have you with us here on set today. That's Owen. He's been very happy today because he's got a good guest here to talk to us, and he's also excited by this next story. It's Google's digital glasses.
We'll see what Ricardo makes of these. This is Google's latest invention. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring a pair on the set. That's largely because they are a prototype. These are Google's, they're called Google Glasses. Just take a look at these images. I think pretty impressive. This is effectively, I'll just talk you through it, a pair of glasses which allow you to completely interact with the glasses. Through voice recognition technology, you can find out what the temperature is. You can even text your friends to say, I'll meet you wherever. It's got maps on it, all sorts of things. It's
Can we wear them while we're presenting? That would be interesting.
to take instruction from the gallery. I'm pretty sure we could do that in time. They're not going to put this onto the market anytime soon, but they do plan ultimately to sell it as a product. So excited.
I said to Owen I'd be straight down those stairs wearing those glasses. All right, Owen, thank you very much. Thanks very much for coming in as well. More news coming up really shortly. Do stay with us.